All right. So I'm here today with Precious Smith. And what's your channel, your full channel name, your YouTube channel name again?
My channel is called Precious Fro Travel.
Precious Fro Travel. I wanted to make sure I got it right. And so my channel is Foaduni, Foadunni. And today we're going to be talking about do what works best for your hair. And I've heard this phrase so much here in the internet space, and I'm sure Precious has heard it a lot for us as influencers, but we want to really get into the meat of what that means. So Precious, what does do what works best for your hair? What does that mean to you?
So for me, what that means is really digging through all of the information that you've been fed your entire life, whether that's from media, from friends and family, from hairstylists, magazines, whatever it may be. Because if you go into CVS right now, you can see on 5 different magazines, top 5 things to do to your hair. And I remember growing up, for me, I looked at those sources as like Bible, like that's what I'm supposed to be doing to my hair and how I'm supposed to be caring for it. Even if the results that I got didn't look like the girl in the Herbal Essences commercial, I just still thought I was doing it wrong. And that was still the right practice that you should be doing. So for me now, that means taking the time to look at all that information that you're given and evaluate, does that practice actually yield me the result that I'm looking for my hair? And if it's not, then I need to be strong enough to go through some trial and error and figure out what it is that actually does work for me, in spite of the fact that if I were to say to someone what my hair regimen is, they might look at me like I'm crazy, but I need to be strong enough to not, allow their judgments to sway me from what I know is right for my hair. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes so much sense. And so something that stood out to me was basically what you're saying. There's a certain level of customization. Like you might hear all this other outside information, but you've customized your routine to what you feel comfortable with, what works best for you aesthetically, or what works best for your hair health for you. And you're happy with that, and you're going to stick with that, even if other people are like, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, yep. So I totally agree with that. I'm on a similar page with that. For me, doing what works best for your hair means that you find a hair care approach that makes sense to you. I know a lot of times we discuss there's trial and error. There is trial and error, but I also want many of us to recognize that we're not starting from scratch. Like there's some sort of pattern, whether it's a pattern we learn from ancestors, or there's current conversations from stylists. I think doing what works best for your hair is looking at a pattern that may suit you, maybe something from your ancestors or maybe from stylists, looking at that hair care pattern and saying, what can I take from this? What can I remove from this? How can I use this to fit my lifestyle, fit my aesthetic, all that jazz. I know a lot of times people see the things that stylists are saying currently, or maybe even some traditional practices, they see that for us as Black people, when it comes to our hair, they see that as too many rules. I keep hearing people talk about right now with the natural community, there are too many rules, there are too many rules, there are too many rules. And I'm like, to me, they're not rules, they're patterns, possible like formulas. And you look at the formula, you look at the pattern, you add this, you subtract that, you add this, and you say, okay, this is how I can make it work for me. So that's how I think about it. So it's there to help you. Like a lot of the discussions that are happening about this is how you care for your hair, this is how you shouldn't care for your hair. I think that at times it can be something that's a useful tool as opposed to something that feels oppressive and terrible. And but I think that for so many of us, because we're starting from what we feel is ground zero and we don't know how to care for our hair at all. For so many of us, it can get overwhelming, all the different types of hair care that's out there. So that's a kind of overview of what I think of what it means to do what works best for your hair. Do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think that all makes perfect sense. And I liked what you mentioned about, you can get something from the hairstylist and pick some things that they may say to you that work for you and leave some. It doesn't even have to be, an all or nothing thing. And with the rules, I 100% agree. I I feel like for some reason, I don't know why, I'm very grateful for the natural hair community, but I definitely think at times it can feel like there is like a set box of fundamentals that people will come for you if they find out you are not following them. I remember one time I put a video up of detangling my hair, and I talked about how when I get to a knot, I will cut the knot out of my hair at a certain point because I can no longer detangle it. And someone in the comment section was like, those don't look like hair cutting shears. I hope you're not using regular scissors on your hair. And I understand the concept behind it, that, you know, scissors that are created for hair are going to create less damage on the ends. But I also feel like overall, in the large scope of all the things we do to our hair, I don't think that me cutting out that one knot with whatever scissors I had on hand is going to make or break my natural hair journey. So for that to be the one thing that you picked up on in a whole, you know, video, it's like we're so quick to critique each other. And I don't know if it just comes from hair just being such a sensitive topic in our community that it's almost like we feel disappointed or shame or guilt or anger when we see someone not doing what we think is supposed to be right for our hair, because there's so much emotion tied to it. So I think now that I've matured, initially that kind of stuff would annoy me, like, why are they trying to tell me what to do? But
Yeah.
now now it feels more like, I think this has more to do with how that person is feeling about their own hair, their own journey, their own frustrations. And I am right now being symbolic of something that might be triggering for them, but they don't know me. They don't know my hair practices. It has nothing to do with me. I shouldn't let it affect me. And I'm just gonna, you know, not allow myself to be snappy with someone on the internet and just extend grace at the fact that we're all trying to figure this stuff out day by day. And we have a lot of baggage when it comes to our hair.
You know what? What's interesting is that I've been on the end of being a commenter. I never disrespected anybody in the sense of calling them out of their name or nothing like that. But I've been a commenter where I'm critiquing. I'm like, why would you do this, this, and this? So I'm being real right now. So I've done that. I've been critical of influencers. Even when I first got on the platform, I felt critical of influencers. But then, you know, the longer I stayed on the platform and then people started to become critical of my work, that's when I began to say, oh my gosh, so this is how this feels. And, you know, even before people began to be critical of my work, I began to feel a deep love and appreciation for influencers as I edited videos, as I researched, as I bought lighting, as I was in the shower, you know, trying to film. So you know, I began to realize the amount of care that was put into influencing. And so, you know, me thinking about that amount of care, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't feel. Well, what's the point of being critical of an influencer in such a way where it's not to uplift or add to the knowledge that we have here in this community? So that was the experience of being an influencer, was very humbling. And then on top of that, even after I established that more humble perspective, then people started to come and critique my work. And it's crazy. It's people that are supposed to be from a similar camp as me. So I know that a lot of people have heard of the no oils, no butters, and that sort of thing. And so the teachings of Black Girl Curls when it comes to the 30-day hair detox and stuff like that. So as my hair became healthier, as my hair became more hydrated, I started to do things that deviated from their base teachings. But my personal stylist was okay with it. And so as I deviated from the 30-day hair detox based teachings and I developed my own perspectives and I cultivated things with my own stylist, people began to look at my videos and say, that's not how Black Girl Curls does it. That's not how, that's wrong. That's not how you do that. And I'm just like, you know, what is up with this lack of like flexibility? And I think it's because, like you said, hair is such an important topic to so many people as people of African descent. And then on top of that, they feel like they hold tight to these rules. I think some people hold tight to the rules because they're needing some sort of sense of stability. I feel like, you know, I know that when I was holding tight to certain rules and certain understandings as a commenter or as an early influencer, it came from a place of I was tired of chaos.
Mm.
My hair care was chaotic. So I was holding on to different rules for dear life, you know, and as opposed to now that I understand my hair more and I feel my hair has a sort of stasis to it. It's healthy, it's stable. I'm able to have a much more open perspective with my hair practices and other people's hair practices as well. So yeah, that being critical of influencers thing, I don't think being critical is the way to go. I think being effective in the sense of trying to build community and make sure we foster good communication with information. I think that's what's much more important. So yeah. Let's take a
I
look at the
agree.
next question.
Cool.
Okay, so when you think of your hair, what do you think?
Ooh, that's a good one. When I think of my hair, what do I think? The first word that comes to my mind is feisty right now. Whenever I have my hair out, because I typically incorporate a lot of long-term protective styling. So I don't see my hair for months at a time. And then when I have my hair out, it makes me feel like a completely different human. And the other day I was doing my hair and we have a wedding to go to this weekend. And I was asking my now husband, what do you think of this side part compared to when I do a middle part? And he was like, ooh, side part, feisty. And I was like, I like that. I like that word. I like that vibe. It just right now, that's the feeling I'm getting in the current moment, but it definitely changes based upon the situation. So yesterday, you know, it's really humid where I am right now, and I can do a twist out after a blowout, and I love it. It looks amazing. And then 4 hours later, those 2 hours plus of work that I just did are gone because my hair is like, no, we're shrinking right back up to where we want to be. Nice job trying. And in those moments, I think of difficult, frustrating, high maintenance, like, why can't you just do what I want you to do for more than an hour at a time? Am I asking for too much? And I go through this inner battle of almost talking to someone that is irritating me. So during those times, I almost have to coach myself out of that because I believe strongly that I am going to get what I put into it. So if I'm putting all of these negative emotions on my hair, I just feel like it's going to somehow impact my natural hair journey. So I've been trying to shift my thinking to, you know, I love shrinkage. Shrinkage is great. It means healthiness. And I should like the fact that my hair is, instead of it being high maintenance and, you know, it being frizzy, it's wild, it's untamed, it's free, it beats to its own drum. I try to twist the characteristic and look at it from a positive point of view because I find that it makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I'm having a good day, a good hair day every day, as opposed to, oh, my style, you know, didn't hold up. Like, all right, whatever. Maybe I'm only supposed to have a hairstyle for half an hour. Maybe that's fine. Maybe it can be like I have a hairstyle for half an hour and then you see me an hour later and I have a whole new different style. Maybe that's a cool thing. You know, not everyone's hair can do that. So I think changing my perspective gives me different feelings about my hair in that moment, in that situation.
Yes, like I really like how you are decolonizing your perspective. You're doing the work of decolonizing your perspective. So whereas you would have had this idea of your hair supposed to be stationary in a certain way, you're recognizing that for us as people of African descent, our hair can often be quite dynamic.
Yeah.
So our hair can be so dynamic, especially when you think about weather, like humidity and stuff like that. There are things that we just like, we can't help. And, you know, that's perfectly okay. And what our hair looks like at the end of that, it shouldn't be less attractive or less valuable or any of those things. So it's like, you're really tapping into like an importance of shifting how you view your hair and not shifting your hair itself.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's where so many people get upset. They're like, my hair looks like this, my hair looks like that. I don't like it. It won't do this. It's so hard. And when you get to the bottom of what's so hard, is really like, but if you thought about it differently. So, you know, but I'm not denying like real things like, you know, detangling, all that actual, you know, work
Yeah.
I guess, and I guess when I think of my hair, I think of love.
Mm.
The reason why I think of love is because love is not always easy.
Mm.
Love is not always fun, but it's worth it. Like right now, I took Flonase and I took something to make sure that my nose didn't like run while we're on the Zoom. But the
Mhm.
reason why my sinuses are reacting this way is because I'm scent sensitive. So I can use a set of products to I wash my hair before we came on. So I can use a
Mhm.
set of products to wash my hair over and over and over again for months, sometimes years, and then all of a sudden something happens where my body is like, I don't like that anymore.
Mm.
And so it makes me caring for my hair difficult,
Okay.
because there are certain types of products that I want to stick with, certain quality of products I want to stick with, but I have this issue of scent sensitivity. So it can make my hair care challenging. And also just I was before we came on, I had to be very careful with washing and detangling my hair because I was coming out of a style that could cause more tangles for me. So, that patience and mindfulness that required, it was difficult. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, like the end result and how my hair looks, I'm so happy with it. And
Mhm.
I'm able to set my hair and care for my hair. I'm happy with it. So it's I think of love because it's not always perfect, it's not always easy, but it's worth it. It was a healthy loving relationship.
Yeah.
Worth it. And this is the relationship that I have with my hair is a healthy loving relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I agree with all of that. I agree with all of that. And the funny thing about the work part to me is it is it's it can be a lot, and it can be high maintenance, and it can be inconvenient at times when you're trying to just go do something quick, and it's like you almost have to shift your whole day around your hair, if not like your whole life sometimes around your hair. But like you said, when you do get a really nice twist out, or you are seeing that your hair is healthy, it just makes you feel like it's all worth it. Like you've somehow just been in the trenches of something, and like you're really working to cultivate and care for something that God gave you. And I just take such pride in that. I feel like I've completely shifted my mind to, before I used to be mad at God. I remember in like 8th grade, like cursing at the sky, like, God, why did you give this to me? Like, why would you do this to me? Especially living in an all white town where everyone had, long silky hair that just looked so easy. To me, it was like you're punishing me with this type of hair. Like, this is a bad thing. Whereas now it feels like you decided that I was worthy of this responsibility, that I was someone who would be able to cultivate and steward over this hair type that maybe someone else might not have been able to. And you would not give me, something more that I would not be able to handle. So thank you for thinking of me in such, high esteem, that you thought that I'd be able to eventually master my hair. And it just makes me feel so empowered uh, to look at it that way and feel so prideful, almost like, tending to a garden and taking out weeds and dealing with bugs. Like all of those hard days make me feel so good at the end of it. Or just when I just take a moment to reflect back on all of the ups and downs during the journey, it's the difficulties that are just, they make it worth it. So I totally agree with you on the concept of love not being easy. I think we live in a world where we think everything should be easy and convenient and efficient, and it's not reality.
I love the spirituality that you're talking about right now. When I think about the spiritual piece of my hair care, you're so right about, God giving us this sort of hair where it requires this sort of care and cultivating careful like a garden. I agree completely. And also the experience that I went through to get my hair healthy this time around, it taught me a lot about life.
Hmm.
It was something spiritual for me. So I've been natural oh since 2009,
Mm.
but in the year of 2020 I got 4 short haircuts because I was told for the type of hairstyling that I was getting ready to go into, the type of hair care I was getting ready to go into, I was told that I had irreparably damaged my hair.
Hmm.
So I got four, as opposed to shaving my head bald, I got four short haircuts. And the last short haircut was August 2020. It was like maybe like that low. That was the last short haircut, and it was the shortest one. And through that process, I cried a lot. I felt ugly a lot.
Hmm.
I felt a lot of, I guess the little girl in me was still battling with being unambiguously Black. Like, I look Black, I don't look any other race, with being
Oh.
unambiguously Black with short hair.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and just having heard things throughout my life about how Black women's hair doesn't grow, and that's not a good thing, that's a negative thing, to say that we're somehow less feminine in a negative way. And
Right.
so, I went through this journey of having, I would see my hair, I would see length retention, only to go to the salon in 3 months and have it cut off.
Oh.
cut off. I went through all these short haircuts that ended in August of 2020. And throughout the process, I had to stick with this process of cleansing my hair every 4 to 5 days, and, wearing wash and goes back to back, even if the wash and go didn't look like it was supposed to be a wash and go, because my hair was, yeah, because my hair was damaged. But then at the end of it, when I got all the damaged hair cut off, and I stuck with this process of getting those haircuts over and over again, and wearing wash and goes over and over again, and using a particular type of products and techniques over and over again, that's when my hair started to look like how it looks now. And I was like, whoa. And so that was spiritual for me, in the sense of me having to confront white supremacist ideology about what's beautiful and what's not. At the end of the day, God says I'm valuable no matter what, just for me being me. Forget the white supremacist ideology that my hair has to be a certain length, or my hair has to look a certain way. And so I had to confront the length thing. And I just, it was a season, but we went through it. And then on top of that, I caught myself working at a beauty, I worked at Sally Beauty. So I worked at a beauty supply store giving hair care advice all day, with, my wash and go looking like I didn't even try to do it. So, I was standing there giving beauty advice, helping people build routines. Building people's whole routines, people of different races. So it strengthened me, and God showed me, everything is a process. You want your hair to look a certain way that it can genetically look like now. You want your hair to look a certain way, you have to work for it. It's a process.
Yeah.
You cultivate this thing. So I completely understand the spiritual aspect. Now, am I all the way over all the different conversations about white supremacist beauty ideals and stuff? Have I completely been able to overcome those things? No. Sometimes I still have to check myself. But I've gotten a lot stronger going through that journey. And now I very keenly recognize that I'm valuable because I'm faux. I'm God's creation, period. So yeah, it was the struggle was real. But we went through it. We made it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I can only imagine. I feel like I remember so many times just crying in hairstylist chairs, just because the end result was just like, what is this? Like, this is not good. And this is supposed to be the best. This is just not what I want. And it sucks. It hurts. And yeah, even though logically I know I should not ever compare my hair type to anybody else's, white or even Black or whatever. I should be completely happy with what I have. Like you said, I constantly have to check myself still. It's a constant forcing myself to change what my natural response would be. And I feel like that makes sense, because we're dealing with generations and generations of this just messed up way of thinking, that I'm grateful that I was even able to come to some of these realizations in my lifetime, when a lot of people that I look up to, my elders, my relatives, are still not even there yet. So I understand it's going to be a daily work in progress, and there's going to be things that trigger me where I have to be like, no, don't second guess yourself. I think about Ghana, where my family is from. And when you go to Ghana, it's like most of what you see, it's changing a little bit now, but most of what you see is Western beauty norms in Africa, in Ghana. Like you would think if there's anywhere in the world that would be void of that, that would be in touch with our ancestry, it would be Africa. But it's seeped in everywhere. You've got wigs and weaves everywhere that are designed to not look like our hair type, or you just have people who just completely shave their head because they genuinely don't know where to even begin with dealing with it. And it's so sad because we've just forgotten so much of what our ancient ancestors did pre-colonization. And it's going to take a long time to bring it back. But I just try to think about it as it's a marathon, and I'm going to learn a little bit and I'm going to pass that information on to someone and they're going to pass it on. And hopefully we can get back to a place where the concept of a relaxer is like, what was that? Why would you ever relax your hair? But I mean, unless you really want to, no shade, do what you want to do. But there's a difference between I want to relax my hair versus I feel like I have to, because what I have is not acceptable. And I would hope that we could just get away from the what I have is not acceptable frame of mind, but we'll see.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And what's crazy? See, I was watching your channel and I love the information you were sharing and the way you shared it. But I didn't know you were like my West African sister. I see we always find each other.
That's funny.
Because my dad is Nigerian. My mom is African American. Okay. So so my dad is Nigerian and my mom is African American. So I've had a mix of the African diaspora experience when it comes to hair. So I would say with a Nigerian American experience, there has been a lot of emphasis on wigs, sew-ins, braiding. They're in my specific context. I'm not going to speak for anybody else's Nigerian American context. In my context, there's this emphasis on putting the hair away. Putting the hair away, and not that there's anything wrong with braids and things like that, but people are putting their hair away because they think there's something is wrong with their hair. They're not doing it to care for their hair, just care for their hair. They're doing it because they believe something is wrong with their hair. And so, and it's such an interesting dynamic because it has led to some conversations that have been painful to me when it comes to me speaking to my peers, and they're like, my Nigerian peers specifically, and they see my hair or they see how I've been able to care for it, and they're like, oh, her hair looks like that because she's African American. And I'm like, oh my God. No, that's not why my hair looks like this. Just this complete ignoring of how much diversity when it comes to the ways that our hair can look. When it comes to us as people of African descent, I've gotten, because of the intimacy that I've had with other Nigerians, with other African Americans, I've gotten to see African Americans with hair similar to my Nigerian peers. I've gotten to see my Nigerian peers with hair similar to my African American peers, and just a variety in curl sizes, textures, silky, smooth, wavy, straight, cottony, all these things among us being so genetically diverse as people of African descent. So it's been an enriching experience of having that Nigerian American experience and that African American experience, and just recognizing how both groups have been impacted by white supremacy, and just these ideas, that aren't true about the other group. Just when it comes to let's just start with hair. Let's start with hair. Just ideas that aren't true when it comes to hair. And I'm like, what are we doing? But that's why I'm so grateful for the influencer space and even some of the work that stylists are doing. I know that I did a collaboration with Elaine of Yes Her Studio. Elaine is Ghanaian, as well as Usone. Usone is Nigerian. So we did a collaboration together, and she talked about how she's been traveling to West Africa and providing hair care education there, curl care education, how to do wash and go styling and tight curly cuts. And so what she's seeing when she goes to both Ghana and Nigeria is people with all these different curl sizes, all these different curl textures. And what it was is they just didn't have the methodology in order to enhance their curls. It's not that they didn't have any curls.